At the moment, we're SlimeGirls. I am Pedro. What do I do?
You do SlimeGirls.
Yeah, I do everything.
That's the Pedro SlimeGirls.
I do everything but play the drums and sometimes the guitar and sometimes the bass.
I play drums.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm Jackson. Yeah, I play the drums.
You would think there would be a lot.
There's gotta Kirby, crystal shards, like the sound palettes.
Yeah,
not as
specific.
Not as
games,
compositionally though, but
it's hard to say specific
Sunshine.
games.
The melodica. That's all Sunshine. I'm picking your influences for you. It's Kirby, crystal shards, Super Mario Sunshine, Bomberman Heroes.
No. Actually, yeah, Heroes is the breaks.
Yeah. I'm just thinking of how Cool Boy is just a Bomberman Hero song.
Yeah, that's true. I feel like more than anything, it's just the era of PS1 and N64 and Dreamcast, GameCube, PS2. Just the sound palettes is what I'm super into. That's what I like. Instruments that are just this weird niche and weird, just kind of frozen in time. I don't know. I feel like electronic music was at a weird state in the era these games came out. There's a lot of weird one-off music gear and tech that came out in the from 1997 to 2008 even. Just weird rack mount synth modules and sample libraries that are just kind of booty sounding, but the kind that I like. I don't know.
It's endearing.
Yeah.
Hearing a sitar that's close to a sitar but isn't right.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's more interesting than a real sitar.
Absolutely. Like a real pan flute. I don't want. I don't want a real pan flute. I want a shitty pan flute. That's just boring baby full diaper bullshit.
Gatekeeping for sure.
It's gatekeeping. Gatekeeping of any kind of art is just sucks and it's stupid. I understand the purism with using real hardware because
it's fun.
It's cool. I respect it because I get it. There is something to be said about making music on old hardware, and that's what everyone in Chiptune always spouts, and it's cool. I respect it, but also I don't care. I just want to make music that I think sounds cool. And I just want to hear people make music that sounds cool. It's I don't know, any gatekeeping based on hardware is just usually boring music. We can't all be Chibi-tech and make amazing music, but Chibi-tech is one of those people that's oh, you just push this hardware to beyond the limits and are just a wizard. Just an incredible, awesome, cool, sweet wizard. Shout outs. But for that's awesome, but you could do a lot with a lot. And
software developers developed DAWs to do the things that people that push their hardware do inherently,
right?
So that I can do that without having to push it and be creative in a space that was designed for me to be creative in, as opposed to I don't know, LSJJ and FAMI and stuff like that. That you can get very, very creative, but there's a limitation for sure, and I don't have the patience for that. I'm not a programmer, I guess, is why a lot of people that are all hardware refuse to touch DAWs or are very programming minded, and not as much texturally minded or compositionally.
Yes, exactly. And I'm super down with limitations. I think they're really important and helpful, and I do miss using LSDJ.
I miss trackers. I miss how they look.
I miss trackers too, but I feel there's just a lot I can't do. And there's a lot I want to do. There's a good attitude to have about it, which is hardware good, hardware cool, let's respect that and have fun with it, which I think a lot of Chiptune people do, and that's great. But
it's a majority, yeah.
Yeah, but I've also played shows where just some assholes, usually older people than me, are just what are these chiptune bands with guitars doing here? That's they did no place at this festival, and it's bah. Whatever. It's boring. I think at the end of the day, it's gatekeeping's bad, and any dismissal of any kind of music is just the most boring thing to me.
Dismissal of expression is just pointless.
Yeah, it's pointless. This is such a huge, big question. Yeah. I feel this is everything because it's For
we
me,
met on the internet.
Yeah.
That's a big part. Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, for me, it's like I grew up in a town with like 500, 600 people in the middle of nowhere. So, like, this project definitely started out as something where I was just like, I kind of always wanted to make music. I always wanted to do my own solo thing. And like out of high school, I was working like a full-time job and just was like too swamped to ever do anything. And like wasn't. It's not that I wasn't happy, but I just wasn't like creatively fulfilled. I knew I wanted to do something, and then like I remember like seeing the Reformat the Planet documentary about like Chiptune and Blowfest, and it was like, oh, LSDJ and Chiptune is something I can do by myself. And that was really inspiring. So like I was like, okay, I'll do that, and like. Because of that, you know, I started finding people that were doing the same thing and interested in the same things and had very similar life experiences or interests, which no one around me at the time had. So, like, it's very much like, oh, like on the internet, there's all these people doing cool things that I like and I want to be friends with. And then for SlimeGirls, it was like I didn't really expect anyone would like it. Like, I was just like, oh, like, I'm just going to do this and put it out there and, like, hopefully, like, at least like a couple people think it's cool. So it was like really surreal for like, it still is surreal. Like all the people I know are because of this project, like everyone that are my closest friends and like that I know and hang out with and live with and like see at all times are because of this. So it's really weird. Like it's just like I'm gonna post this on Bandcamp, post it on whatever, Tumblr and Twitter. And suddenly, it's just like meeting all these Chiptune people, playing shows with Chiptune people, and through that, over the years, just kind of branching out and getting into other communities and
you find deeper niches.
Yeah, you find like deeper niches and interests and people that are into those things. So yeah, it's wild. I don't know, like we met because Tumblr.
Yeah.
Like
I heard SlimeGirls on Tumblr and I was like, oh, I think I like this, and then I just found a community of other people that like the kind of music. Found other, not just SlimeGirls. I remember like following like the Onomanaguchi tag on Tumblr, and that's how I met like Garland and Maxwell, like all those people, like just because I found people that liked the same stuff that I do. I was living in a small town as well.
Yeah, honestly, this everything is just based around that online connection.
It makes the world tiny because the world becomes little pockets of your micro scene.
Yeah.
So like 12 people in New York and like 30 people in LA and like 20 people in Seattle, and now the America has become tiny because like your context for the world and it grows and builds. We meet people in Vancouver, British Columbia. Like, that's wild. Yeah, I didn't know that there was a scene doing what we love up here, too. Like, but that's all through the internet.
Yeah. I mean, for the longest time, I'd always be, like, meeting people at a show or, like, a convention or something, and, like, they'd say their real name, and you'd be like, oh, chill. And they'd be like, I'm so-and-so on Twitter. And they'd be like, oh, what the heck? It's so great to meet you IRL. Like, I don't know, that's just everything. It's just like, I think just because living in a small town, like I didn't move to a city until I was like 24, like, you just spend a lot of time online and you see a lot of the same screen names and you start interacting more and more. And like, I don't know if that's still the case anymore.
Well, I think what happened is that I think things like Tumblr and Twitter and like SoundCloud and Bandcamp kind of worked as like access points into those experiences where you meet like someone's username and they're like, oh, but my real name's X, and it's like, oh, word, and then now that barrier is broken, and once you do that enough times, you just have a real community of people around you. And I feel like you lose a lot of the toxicity that existing only on the internet will give you. And so scenes that never get outside and like do their thing IRL sometimes suffer from like a lack of perspective or like direction that doing a real thing in a real building does. So I think now we're on like a post-internet network. Like it still is very heavily reliant on the internet, but now we have real friends like that we see all the time.
It's cool. Well, it's also like Tumblr died.
Twitter
is on its way out.
Means nothing anymore.
Twitter is garbage.
SoundCloud sounds too bad for me to upload things on anymore.
I also feel like a lot of people like are increasing. Maybe it's just people our age or like in that group that have been through this already. But it's like you do start to get a little burnt by like meeting people online in these communities and just like you go through stuff that hurts you, and you close off a little bit to the idea of meeting people online.
Sure,
Like, sometimes I think people do that, which makes sense. It's like, yeah, like stuff happens, but like, yeah, but I guess in closing, it's like I think this project only really is successful and exists because of the internet, like entirely because of the internet, and just people that have niche interests and are into this kind of stuff.
Yeah, not to put it on quote-unquote fandom culture, but like if you love something on the internet, like you go hard about it.
Yeah.
Like you have a favorite fan artist and that fan artist is doing merch for a band.
Right.
And then you listen to the band and you're like, oh, I love this thing now. And then,
Right.
oh, now you're like flying to Tokyo to see a music festival of like future-based DJs because you fell in love with their music from an artist or something. Like that stuff goes real hard.
Yeah. And I think, and yeah, it is, yeah, it's like, even mentioning a visual artist is important too, because I feel like it's like, one of the things I got so excited about once SlimeGirls took off a little bit was like, oh, I get to work with all these people that I like their visual art, like, I'll hire them to do art for me, and like, you know, promote their stuff, and it's like, it really did just work in a way that was like, you know, I like this music, I'm going to retweet that, and they like my music, they're going to retweet that, and it's just a lot of that. So, like I said, I didn't expect anyone to like this project. And, you know, when you're really young, you just make decisions based on nothing. And I don't know, it's just... This has been 6, almost 7 years of just like...
And you do 2 vinyl runs of Vacation.
Oh, man. Yeah, it's just weird being a project with an album that came out fucking 6.5 years ago that like...
Which in internet years is like... 25.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
That's like Vacation Wasteland feels like it came out 25 years ago. I just like I said, I grew up in a small town. I don't know anything about anything, and like had very little life experience. So like, you know, like still having the same project name as like when you were then, and you just feel like a completely different person. It's like kind of weird, and I also feel musically like we're not really doing the, you know, chiptune plus guitar and drums anymore. So. Yeah, I've always wanted to move past that, and
not in a negative way.
Not in a negative way.
That project isn't doing that project anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So I want to move past that. More news on this later. Jazz fusion, ambient. What else we got?
Like footwork and jungle.
And jungle. What else we got?
Gamer music for gamers.
Gamers. No.
You're literally making video game music commissions. Like that's like a big part of what you do.
That's true.
Like
That's true. I do a lot of that.
Undertale really helps people understand that video game music can be art on its own.
Yeah.
Like a lot, like in mass, like people started recognizing that like a big part of the emotional impact of video games is the music.
Yeah.
And I think that's really changing the landscape of how people consume. I see more video game soundtracks being published on Bandcamp that get a lot of response.
Yeah.
And people like Disaster Piece breaking out to film.
Yes.
Hearing like the It Follows soundtrack act like a video game soundtrack, like same like textures and stuff being taken seriously as score.
Yeah, that's horror movies though. Horror movies are the only mainstream piece of media that let like composers and sound designers have fun and do anything cool with music scores these days. Honestly.
It's niche enough they can get away with doing some rowdy stuff.
God. Honestly, one of the cool things about chiptune in general, I think, like...
What do you think I'm thinking?
No, probably not. Was just that it wasn't stylistically, like music-wise, like set to one thing.
It's a medium.
Yeah, it's a medium, which is like I think one of the strongest suits because it's the reason why like we could have success and also play a set with like I don't know BitShifter, like Chibi-tech, like
not fusion at all.
People want to do dance music, people want to do bossa nova, people want to do jazz, people want to do hip hop, people want to do punk, people want to do screamo, math, like. All these things under the chiptune label. That was sick. That was like one of my favorite parts of it. Like you just have weird shows, and that's like what I'm about. I just want weird shows. I just want like people doing weird stuff that's like unique and cool and like something only they can do.
I feel like bands like The Depreciation Guild.
Yeah,
And Revengineers, like that kind of like New York, like
yeah.
dream pop shoegaze chiptune scene was very, very special. I think that like Starscream got me into like into post rock, like got me into like so much of my life, like, and that being like a fusion that resonated with me really deeply. Because I see them more than a chiptune act. I see them as a post rock act with like a palette that I really appreciate.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like any chiptune group that had real drums.
Real drums are so fun.
Sorry, I shouldn't say real drums, but like
acoustic drums. Yeah. Drums. Well, acoustic drums I think were culturally acceptable as like this goes hard now.
Yeah.
When you hear like a full live drum set, like it now goes hard.
Yeah.
In a way that like a lot of times the Game Boy can't produce.
Right. I mean, I think people in general struggle with like humanizing drums. It's hard.
It's real hard.
So like having just an actual person playing it gives so much more expression and energy, and just like cymbals.
You like cymbals?
I love cymbals.
You like cymbals?
I love cymbals.
I'm more of a snare guy personally. I really like
crash
the snare.
cymbals.
Crash cymbals too loud.
Oh no! Give me it, man. Just all crash cymbals only. But yeah, like if it was like chiptune with drums, that's always the sickest. Or like chiptune with vocals, sick too. Like
vocals, cool. Yeah.
I remember. Well, I'll never forget. Like the first time I saw Chibi-tech, they had, I guess, their friend doing vocals on like a cover of Miko Miko Nurse, and I just I went way too hard to that. Just like, so what are things that I like? People screaming,
Yeah.
Cymbals,
crash cymbals.
That's it. Texas Chip, Chalkboards, Eternal Homies.
Yeah.
Shout out to our bassist, Cyclops Rock.
Yeah.
Shout out to Postboy.
Postboy.
Their affiliated act. Shout out to, I'm going to give a shout out to Kara's Walk Home. One of the best albums of all time. Give a shout out to, who else you want to shout out?
I want to shout out Senza. I want to shout out Pacific Noiseworks. I want to shout out Graz and Skybox, yeah. Shout out to Galaxy Swim Team, what's up?
Yeah. Shout out to Machine Girl, we just played with.
Oh, yeah.
What else? Any other shout outs?
Shout out to that Durham's Dream album that's coming out later this year. Shout out to Super Mario.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we forgot Super Mario.